So I'm Kat Borrowdale, and I'm a performer and I suppose someone with a background in kind of all kinds of arts administration and performance. I would say I'm someone who brings quite a organised and grounded approach to creative activities. So I always try and, I suppose I wouldn't be motivated to do things if it wasn't creative and imaginative. But I love to bring as much stability and planning to creative endeavours as I can. And I come from a background of always doing kind of performing and writing, studied English literature at university, and was a full-time professional hula hoop artist for about 10 years. Still do that a little bit, but very much shifted more towards wanting to share what I can do with other people off the stage by teaching. And we are really here to help people find their thing. So for a lot of people, you know, dance and sports are amazing, like incredible things to be involved in, but they can often be like quite exclusionary, just like because of the structure and the history behind them. But circus is like this wild card where like you kind of get to do anything in the way that you want. And yeah, like giving the example of hula hoop, you know, it's something that like there are so many different ways to do it. And yeah, for us, it's about helping people to build their confidence by trying something that seems really impossible and then realizing it's not impossible, and that actually you can learn everything if you break it into smaller pieces, if you have like the right support behind you. And the hope is that, like for me personally, doing circus helps me like really feel in my body, and it kind of connects my body and my mind together in a way that like nothing else does. And so the hope is that everyone has that with something in this world, and I think circus is that for a lot of kids that we meet. So our primary purpose is to build confidence for children and adults through circus, and to just promote being imaginative and creative and playful. So we do that all over the city with different social projects, including kind of performance projects for young people, and then we run regular classes and we run adult classes, and we also, because we are a social enterprise, that we use professional performance and fire and light shows to subsidise lots of our youth programme. So I discovered circus because I met a guy in a park in Glasgow, and the guy was doing poi spinning, which is kind of balls on strings. I think I wanted to impress the guy. I was in my 20s and was definitely like, ooh, this is very like exciting and like something I've never seen before. And so I ended up, this guy was great, like he showed me a few moves and he lent me a set of these poi, and I went home and I hit myself in the face repeatedly. I was really frustrated by them in a way that I had not been frustrated before, because I'm quite an academic person and I'd found a lot of things easy up to that point. And so I really was just like hitting myself in the face. And then I had the poi and I like threw them across the room and was just like, these are rubbish. And then I kind of had a weird out of body moment where I like genuinely saw myself from the outside, and I was like, if I don't go over there and pick them up, I'm going to do this with everything that I'm not instantly good at for the rest of my life. And so I had this weird like self-parenting moment where I like went over and I picked them up and I was like, and then I tried this thing that I couldn't do, which was a 3-beat weave. And it's a really nice clicking move, but it doesn't work for a long time. And when this move doesn't work, it just hits you in the face repeatedly. But I had this little moment and I walked over and I picked them up and I got the move, and nothing has ever felt that good. I was like, oh, I did that by trying persistently. So that's kind of my moment where I realised like, oh, I think there's something in this for me. And then I wasn't interested in impressing anyone else. I just really liked how that felt. And I ended up forming a circus company with the guy I met in the park, and touring with a youth show as part of the Commonwealth Games, and having quite a lot of like amazing performative and sort of youth project moments where I realised like there's so much in this discipline. kind of still do all of this now, but a range of fire and light shows all over Scotland. So I started with poi spinning, which are like these. And I really enjoyed doing a little bit of poi spinning and got into fire performing from that. This is kind of when I'm still at university. And yeah, I just really never thought I would end up doing something like that. But I guess I'd always had the kind of performing genes. I always wanted to sing and dance and be on stage. And so as soon as I started doing kind of this poi spinning, I tried doing fire for the first time about 2 weeks after picking up a set of poi. And I remember doing this first fire dance and having this like pain in my stomach for the whole time and being like, oh, that's a bit weird. And then I finished and I breathed and I realised I'd just been like for the entire first spin. And I was like, great, I've done that. I'll never do that again. And then about 3 weeks later, I was like, oh, I did quite enjoy that. So I kind of built up my adrenaline. But I used to be so scared of everything and have mild dyspraxia and was very like uncoordinated. So it was really odd for me to kind of keep coming back to like probably what was one of the most difficult things to ever do for me. But yeah, there was something about the challenge of it. I think I just found it really satisfying to have something I couldn't do straight away and have to kind of push through and go through that process. And then when you get something that nothing feels as good as that. So that kind of kept me coming back to poi spinning and fire dance. But it wasn't my full-time job. I was working in events for a disability charity. And then I started to get more and more offers for, could you come and perform? And then I got asked to be in a film. And my boss at the charity was like, is this what you want to do? And I was like, I think so. So she kind of sent me on with her blessings and was like, go and perform. So yeah, I was in a film. And then I ended up finding hula hoop. And that was for me like just kind of when everything clicked, and I realised that was just like the discipline that suited me really, really well. And there's something about the personality type of hula hoopers that I kind of just have. It makes you very obvious because you have a hula hoop on your body and no one can kind of ignore that. And it's like a very varied prop where you can be quite meditative, you can be very expressive, you can be quite pattern oriented, you could be figuring out a puzzle of like how to juggle lots of objects, or you can be training it like an Olympic sport where you're having lots of hula hoops and it's like really intense cardio. And so it kind of gave me everything in one prop, and I love that it's something that most people have tried doing, so they kind of have a relationship with it that's quite fun. So yeah, hula hoop was just like my thing. And then I ended up getting a job on a cruise ship for a while. I was just really loving going out and performing. From the very moment that I wanted to set up Think Circus, I was always really aware that it wasn't coming from a place of like, I want to kind of run a big company and I want it all to like make lots of money. I'd had 10 years as a professional circus artist, and I kind of felt like the place where the joy is coming from is when I get to have those moments of like showing someone that what they think looks really impressive and looks really impossible is actually super accessible, and they're only a couple of steps away from doing that. And then I just found I was trying to be a professional performer and I kept like accidentally coming off the stage and like teaching a child how to hula hoop. So I think I was already in a very kind of social benefit frame of mind long before someone said to me, like, there's this model of a community interest company. And I was like, oh, that kind of sounds like how I always operate. I'm trying to kind of build community into everything I'm doing. And I want to share this with people. And then, yeah, finding that model, I was quite lucky to get a bit of advice from Business Gateway, from Firstport, where they really kind of talked me through like, how does this work? And I loved that. I loved the idea of still doing professional performance and making really high quality acts, but like using that to fund public and I suppose like community projects. So Think Circus primarily works with young people and children from areas where maybe there's not as many extracurricular activities going on, or not as many opportunities to do something creative. And currently we work mostly in Leith and we work in Craigmillar, and that feels like a place where I suppose we feel there's a demand for it, and yeah, we've just built up relationships with families in the area who come along to the project. And then we also do a variety of adult classes, and so there's this other kind of group that we work with a lot, which is usually women kind of aged kind of 30 and up. In this demographic, we find that there's a lot of people who feel that they are not like a physical person, they're not like a sporty person, and they've sort of like they've ruled themselves out from doing something that's active. And I identify with that a lot because I felt like I almost had to choose between being like a sporty kid or a book smart kid or whatever. And so women who come along to particularly hula hoop classes will find like they will make lots of excuses at the beginning and kind of go, I'm sorry, I'm rubbish at learning things. And I'm just like, no, you're not. You've just had these bad experiences when you're like a teenager and it's all felt excruciating. And so, yeah, there's a group there who it's really amazing to like see kind of unlock the confidence and physical skill they've always had. They just haven't let themselves notice it. So those are our main groups. We run a variety of services and programs which are designed to bring people all the way from a kind of light touch first discovery of circus all the way to having maybe a professional career in the arts. So kind of at the beginning of that slide almost is that people can come to free workshops in parks around them. We have our circus bike that does a free Sunday circus program, and we do that in partnership with community venues. We also do lots and lots of external kind of workshop delivery, so that is often with like local communities in Glasgow, Edinburgh, all over Scotland. We go out and we do performances so that people can actually see what circus is and like be inspired by it. And then we also do more of a regular class program, so that's kind of moving more towards someone coming every week and being able to build up skills. We have a youth classes program, we have adult classes, and then we also have a couple of youth projects. So one of them's working with a school in Craigmillar where we work with P7 and P6 adolescent girls, and that Girls for a Circus project's a really nice collaboration with Rowan Environmental Arts, where we work outdoors and we really look at how we can use things like physical skills like circus, but also like environmental arts to help us appreciate the world we're in and have different emotional resilience coping tools at an age where girls really need it. And then we also have a teen circus club, which is like a regular youth work project. It's kind of in a nice intersection of learning skills, but also having a place to kind of hang out and just be creative and playful. And then we also run an artist development strand of our work, which is more new. And so we have an annual hula hoop convention and a program for professional artists where we're offering masterclasses, and we run something called Upskill Social, which is for all artists and volunteers that work with us. So we work with 55 freelance artists at the moment, and we offer training in lots of different things they might need. So that might be like the business of circus, how to do your accounting and become a professional, but also practical training, like how to make an act. What was our latest one was how to do your social media marketing. So we're really kind of giving the skills that people say they need. And then we're also about to run an artist development project, which will provide performance experience for kind of 6 emerging artists who maybe need more professional experience as part of an ensemble. So yeah, that's kind of the very invested side of it, where we work with people who are professionals and build them up as well. And then it all kind of comes full circle because they go and volunteer and help us run community sessions as well. One of the things that I love so much about the social enterprise community is that it's completely founded on collaboration. And when I started engaging with First Sport and I met Gordon at the Edinburgh Social Enterprise Network, I noticed that this word was coming up all the time and I almost didn't know how to engage with it. Like coming from, being a sort of freelance circus performer, it's not too bad in Scotland, but say across like Bristol and London, it can be quite feral. People are really trying to make a living and it's really competitive and it's quite hard. And so I think it took me a while to even understand kind of what this concept was. And then by the time I was doing an entrepreneurship course with Tribe Porty, which is called Keystone at the time, it's really opened my eyes to just how much solidarity is needed. And it just really helped me to understand that like we are operating as these kind of solo entrepreneurs at the beginning, and it just feels so great when you realize that you can find someone else who's having the same challenge, but you can like work through it together. And so there were a lot of early collaborations that just kind of opened my eyes to how that could work. One of them was Skate of Mind, who I met through Unlimited, and we just had so many things in common, so that was really exciting. We met Pride Outside Kick, and ended up doing a project called Imagine Bodies, where we like interviewed Lou, who's their founder. There's just been all of these incredible moments where it just proves, you know, we're so much stronger when we work together. And I know that seems like a cliche, but it genuinely now, it kind of fills me with more fear to think about doing a project on my own. Like, it's so good to, you know, recognise this project you want to do and then find a local community group and say like, hey, would you like us to bring Circus to your group? Rather than kind of coming into an area and trying to, you know, create your own audience. So I just find it's the lifeblood of how we work now, and we're always looking for opportunities to collaborate. So a really lovely partnership has been working with Rowan Environmental Arts, who I ended up sharing a workspace with their founder, Lucy Power, and we were doing this during COVID and had lots of long conversations about teenagers and how, you know, how much pressures were on them, particularly in COVID, around well-being, but our own experiences as well of being teenage girls. And like, yeah, we just created a project basically out of that and said, what if we could do something together? And that has been a 4-year project. We've just had it renewed for another 2 years. And again, we have such complementary skills. So it's amazing to see how we can support each other and we can bring different perspectives. And yeah, it's just been so fruitful. So the benefits of Circus are so much wider and more varied than people would maybe think. And I would say Circus is more varied than people think as well. There can be a bit of a kind of cliche image of like it's all animals in the circus, or everything has to be on fire and super dangerous, or you have to be hanging from a rope by your teeth. And so I think sometimes people can exclude themselves from that by thinking they have to have more training or tick some sort of box to come along, but actually everyone can do circus. And I think one of the biggest benefits is kind of realizing that, you know, that something that looks quite difficult can actually be super accessible if you just like have someone to help you, just break it down a little bit. And I think that feels really good to know that you're capable of things that look difficult, and that can unlock a lot in your life. So for me, that's like the huge overarching benefit of all Circus. But then there's just loads of everyday benefits. So you feel really good because you've been moving and you can switch off your brain. Like there's nothing like having a hula hoop flying around your body to make you concentrate and be in your body and focused in the moment. So it's very calming in that way. And then it allows you to have a way to be creative and expressive, and really, express things that can't be said in words. So it can really be an outlet, especially for like young people if they're going through something. We really see that, and they can do it through Circus. And it also, I think there's just an amazing learning methodology behind it, because you're confronted with failure like so much more than in other disciplines. And I know it's such a trope to understand that like we have to fail in order to look good, but there's nothing to me that says that more than like a juggling ball like falling down when you've tried to catch it. It's so obvious to everyone around that you failed. It's so like black and white. So it really helps you just to see that everyone who is doing it well is actually like risking and failing all the time, and it's just part of the process. It's a very like quick thing to pick it up and try again, and very normalized. And then the last benefit that I absolutely love hearing about is something called eustress. So it's something that researchers from Glasgow University have recently discovered working with Aerial Edge, and it's that there's a positive kind of stress that you can put your body under. So eustress really allows you to feel adrenaline and kind of almost like the same physical effects as anxiety, but reframe it in a positive way. And I think that's something that humans seem to benefit from extraordinarily, because again, you can reframe things that feel scary in your life and say like maybe anxiety is just like excitement without the breathing, and it just helps you to feel good and refreshed. So to anyone that's thinking, oh, I'd quite like to try circus, but I'm not sure, I would say circus is so many different kinds of thing. So kind of go out and watch contemporary circus shows and see what they are and see what kind of interests you, because, you know, everyone has their thing. There's loads of things in this world that like will not interest you. I always find it amazing how many things I want to do. But yeah, I think find out what different skills exist in circus, you know, realise it's juggling and hula hooping and acrobatics, and then that anything you want to do, you can do it. You just need to put in that little bit of time, and you know, you've got to go there and be in amongst it really in life. You know, if something is exciting to you, just give it a try, and the worst thing that will happen is you'll try it and decide it's not for you. But we teach it in a way that is super accessible. All of our tutors are amazing at breaking things down. We're not going to throw you in at the deep end. You won't have to do a backflip in order to come along. Yeah, just give it a try, and it's way easier than you think. The main areas where we feel like we need kind of support and help are still in getting the word out, like just allowing more people to discover circus or come along and try a class. We actually have loads of really accessible circus classes, and often find it's tricky to like find places to advertise them. So if anyone sees this and they want to share it with a friend, classes are totally affordable, they're really easy to try, and our tutors are lovely. I would say as well, I think like we have ambitions to not necessarily grow the size of our team. We don't want to think circus in every city in Edinburgh. We just want to do what we're doing really well, and continue to kind of get that feedback, I suppose. So the other way people could support is if you're a young person aged between 16 to 24, we're forming a group called the Think Circus Youth Collaborators, or the TCYC. And basically we would love to hear from young people who like circus, know a little bit about it maybe, and they can review things we're doing now and suggest new ideas. So we're really keen for people to like tell us what they would like to see so we can provide it. Very early on in our journey, Think Circus ended up engaging with the Social Enterprise Network in Edinburgh, and found them to be brilliant and supportive. We had a lot of help when during, it was 2021, the Kickstart scheme was launched through HMRC, and so Claire was amazing in helping us get loads of information, like discover that we could do that as a small organisation, and formed a cohort of loads of interested groups, and we ended up with two of the most amazing interns. We honestly couldn't have wished for more perfect people to fit, and one of them, they both extended their time with us. One of them ended up staying on for 2 years. Like, that was incredible, and that all happened because of the Edinburgh Social Enterprise Network. And yeah, we've found like they're always there to help us with supporting like things that we're selling. We did buy juggling balls and interactive juggling course, and that was part of the doing good at Christmas like campaigns. That was great. Yeah, just found them to be really supportive and good advocates for the social enterprise. I love Edinburgh so much. I come from Oxford, and I moved to Scotland for university when I was 19, and in Oxford people will talk for a long time to not say what they mean, and I remember like finding in Scotland people were just so much more like straightforward. I initially lived in Glasgow, and like it's very true there, that people don't like you, they mean it, but if they like you, it's, you know, it's true. And then coming to Edinburgh feels like the kind of perfect blend between, yeah, the kind of Scottish like bluntness and honesty, and like the beautifulness of like a Gothic city. It is really beautiful here, and I think like we're so lucky having like a volcano and a beach and incredible hills. Think Circus recently hosted a delegation from Munster, and we took them on a roller coaster up to look out over the whole city, and yeah, people are just blown away. So I always feel really proud to live in Edinburgh, and I think we have a really amazing kind of infrastructure and environment for social businesses. It feels like a village in a lot of ways. and people are really collaborative, but it also feels that there's a respect and appreciation of like arts and creativity that we wouldn't find elsewhere in Scotland. So it's great to be part of it. So I'm really excited that we have a new staff member coming on board. So we have Robert Gallagher-Lyle, who's moving into the position of our social circus programme lead, and we've never had this role before. It's been supported by Creative Scotland through multi-year funding, which we're just enormously grateful to be able to really consolidate that side of things. A lot of it's been led by me, so I'm delighted to have someone come on board that's really focused on building, and that is mostly about deepening and building and collaborating with more organisations in Edinburgh. Like, we already work and probably know most of the youth work organisations in the town, but it just allows us to really build with them and just be a bit more mindful about how we're doing that in a long-term way. So that's really exciting. And yeah, we are also about to relaunch our hula hoop convention, Hoopscotch, in a new format. We're doing it as a co-created process this time, so involving people from all like community groups in what they want to see in an event. And then we're also going to run our artist development programme at the end of next year for the first time. So that's called Flourish, and I'm really excited to see who that brings on board and how we can support artists. So Think Circus is a circus with a purpose, far beyond the big top.